Hello everyone and welcome to the 5th episode in my Introduction to Node.js tutorial series. Now in this video we're going to be going over some basic web scraping, and actually before that I'm going to go ahead and go through sort of my plan for the near future. So in essence, what I'm planning to do with this Node.js tutorial series is kind of take it in a couple different directions. And when I'm saying that, basically this whole first portion of this is just sampling all of the different areas that I'm familiar with, like web scraping in this one, and web servers in the previous one, and then we're going to look at creating a chatbot in the next video. And I'll just be going over a surface level introduction to each of these concepts. And then future or down the line, I'm going to actually go into depth with each of these, making a full web server, doing full web scraping, and creating a full Discord bot. So the next episode I have planned is a Discord.js video, which Discord.js is basically a library to create chatbots for a platform called Discord using JavaScript. And then we're going to be going over some Node and JS mini lessons like arrow functions, packages, require.js, and reading module documentation. The reason for this being that I think overall in this tutorial series I actually haven't explained these concepts very well, and they are very, very, very important for the code we're writing. So I will just be creating a separate little couple mini lessons that address these topics so that we can all so I can make sure that everyone has kind of the baseline of knowledge that's needed to understand what's going on in these videos. And then finally, after that, I will be going into more depth with some Node mini-series going over Express.js, Puppeteer, which is web scraping, and Discord.js for the chatbots. So yeah, that's pretty much my plan for the near future. Probably over the course of the next month or so, I'll be getting all of these kind of done. And then, yeah, that's pretty much what I have planned. So aside from that, just a quick recap from the previous episode. I'm going to go ahead and open up our index.js and force it to be up here, and then also open up or I guess we don't need this. So for the most part, in the previous episode, what we went over was building a basic web server. And the gist of how that works is essentially we have a program that our web server, or like, as a better explanation, when you go to a website, your browser, you type in an address like google.com. And where that's going is that google.com will eventually lead your browser to contact a web server asking for the Google website. And basically, when we write our web server code like this, app.get/, we are telling our web server that whenever someone wants to come to our website or wants to contact our web server, send them the index.html file. And as you know, all websites are written in HTML, at least the basic structure, including this Google website here is in HTML, because if I click inspect here, you can see there's HTML that kind of makes up the entire website. So that's what we're doing, is we're just having a web server that says when we want to go to the site, send over the index.html file and basically give them our website. And that is the basics, the very, very basics of how to set up a web server. And of course, there are many different customizations, many different options, many different things we can add to this to basically augment it and give it more functionality. We could create an API using a web server as well, which I'm not going to get into right now, but something we will end up probably covering in the Express.js mini-series. So there are many different possibilities, and this is just scratching the surface here. But I'm going to go ahead and delete this now, just since we've gotten our recap out of the way, and we are going to go into web scraping and kind of what that means in JavaScript. So what we're going to be looking up is Puppeteer, npm. So Puppeteer is an npm package, just like Express is. And in order to install it, of course, it says install npm I Puppeteer. That's a shorthand, or you can type first, make sure to be in the right folder. So I'm going to go to the folder for this video right here, and then I'm going to clear. And then to install our package, we type in npm install or npm I and then Puppeteer. And by typing that in, you'll see it'll go ahead and spin for a few seconds and load and download everything. And then eventually you will have Puppeteer installed. Now, Puppeteer will install Chromium, and the reason for that is Puppeteer is what's called a web scraping library or a web scraping module. And basically what it does is it allows us to get data from different websites and basically use it in any way we want. So I'll kind of be showcasing that a little bit more in depth right now. So the question comes up, what is web scraping? And of course, web scraping, we might want to look that up here. Web scraping, there's a definition here, like what is web scraping and how does web crawling work? And I'm going to probably actually end up just partially rereading this. Web scraping is the process of collecting web data, so data from the web, aka text, numbers, anything, in an automated fashion. So we're going to write a program to collect this data. It's also called web data extraction, which makes sense. We're extracting data from the web. And some of the main use cases include price monitoring. So we can check the prices on, say, if we web scrape Amazon, which I'm actually not sure if that's possible, just because of they probably have some anti-web scraping inside. But websites that don't have that, generally you can scrape the prices right off the website. So you can keep a track or keep a log of kind of the price over time on a certain website. Price intelligence, same thing. News monitoring, you can kind of look at different news sources and aggregate them using web scraping. Lead generation, market research, many other things. So basically, web scraping, all it means is you're writing a program that can go to a website and get data from that website without a human having to get that data. And we're going to be actually building a simple web scraper in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and tick that off, and we are going to be scraping this website, which I was just looking for a tracker. I have never used this site, but right here, this is called the Twitch tracker. It gives us some data, as you can see on the website. It says viewers watching, average live viewers, average live streams, games being streamed, and all this. So basically, our goal by the end of this video is to at least get one of these numbers, like maybe just get viewers watching. Like, you know, it's going to be a very tedious process to do it for all of these, which is why web scraping in general is kind of tedious, but at least we're going to do these. We're just going to get these numbers here. So to get started, go ahead and come here to the Puppeteer NPM page. And I recommend going to the repository, which is github.com/puppeteer/puppeteer, which will take you to this kind of page. And this is what's called the documentation or the repository, where we're going to learn how to use it. See, there's a section that says usage, and it says an example, saving file as example.js. This is some of the code that you can use, and let's see what this does. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this code in. And as you can see, this we can read. So it's importing the Puppeteer package as normal. Then we are running what's called a closure in JavaScript. And all this means, it's a little bit confusing, but is we are creating a function like this. Remember, there's an arrow function, but then we're calling it immediately. So we're going to wrap it and call it. So this is like saying function. So this is like saying a function that's nameless, that consoles.log. And then we are just running that function immediately, if that makes sense. That's basically what they're doing here, except they added this keyword async in front of the function name. And what that means is this function is asynchronous. And basically, asynchronous just means that it doesn't have to run in like from top to bottom. And all that means is some of these things like puppeteer.launch take time, and it allows us to tell our code to wait for that stuff to finish before we move on to the next pieces of our code. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and make a little video talking about async in JavaScript, async/concurrency. Yeah, I'll make a video about that as well. So the gist, if we read through this, you don't have to understand everything, but it says const browser, so we're creating a browser variable. It's equal to puppeteer.launch and awaiting the result. Okay. Const page is awaiting browser.newPage, so it seems like we're creating a new tab. And then we are awaiting page.go to this website here. And then we are awaiting page.screenshot. So, I mean, just by reading, like without knowing everything about this code, we can assume it's going to go to example.com, then it's going to take a screenshot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and now type in node index.js as always. And as we can see here, it'll run and run and run. It'll take a minute, and then it's finished. And if I reload here, notice that we have an example.png, and it is a picture of example.com, and I can prove it to you. https://example.com. It's exactly like this. So basically, we just had some code that went to this website and took a picture, and we didn't see any Chrome pop up because that is why it installed Chromium it's using its web browser to basically go and navigate the web for us. So that's the gist of beginning to know how this is all working. And basically, to actually be able to track this website, what we're going to have to do first, obviously, is exchange https://example.com for this Twitch tracker right here. And let's go ahead and now run it again. So, whoops, node index.js. So just by changing the web browser that we're going to, if I now open example.png as soon as this is finished, we will see that we are now have a screenshot of this page here. So as you can see, we have the viewers watching, the live streams, we have the data that we want. Now, past here, you may be wondering, well, great, we can get an image, but what if I want that data in text form? Well, that is where we are now going to have to navigate the HTML of the page. So the one thing that these trackers are very good at, and they're called web scraping frameworks. There's more than just Puppeteer, but Puppeteer is my favorite of choice, or it's my preferred kind of library because I use it. But they all generally are able to do something called searching through the HTML. And they offer a bunch of tools that basically let us come into this world right here. Instead of looking at the website, we are going to be viewing this website through the lens of the HTML itself. So we're not seeing this text here, we're seeing a div element. And inside that div element, we're seeing, a template element or another div element. And inside of that div element, we're seeing another div element. Like basically, that's the gist of what we're seeing here, is we, as the web scrapers, are not viewing the website through the website, we're viewing it through the HTML. So let me ask you right now, well, I can't ask you, but what if you wanted to find the viewer's watching number? Well, one tool in HTML that we are offered is we can click on this little icon here. It's like a box with a pointer. And if we click on that, and it'll basically take us to this website. And if we click on anything on the website, it'll show us where in the HTML that it is. So if I click on the number, notice now we get this div. So actually, whoa, our number is here. It's inside a div. And if it's inside a div, we can get it with our JavaScript. But you may be wondering, how do we know to get to this exact div? There are a variety of ways. I think one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, that I would do if I was building a web scraper for this is this number is always changing. So we can't say get the number 2,104,437. That's what we're trying to figure out. We don't know what this number is. But notice that there's a label here that says viewers watching. That will most likely never ever change. Viewers watching will always stay viewers watching. So theoretically, if we could tell our code somehow to get the element that has the text viewers watching and then gets the next element, and then that's the number, that is exactly how you do web scraping, or at least it's one way. Of course, web scraping is one of those arts that really just, there are many different ways to do it, and this is just one way that we could. So let's go ahead and look up Puppeteer now. Puppeteer get element by text. So I already know how to do this, but imagine I didn't. I would search Puppeteer get element by text and go to Stack Overflow, the programmer's favorite resource right here. And people say short answer. Okay, so we're saying const button equals await page.x buttons contains dot button text. Okay, so I'm gonna basically copy this for the most part. And so we screenshotted the page, and then I'm gonna run this code. In fact, we don't need a screenshot, so I'm gonna comment this line out. So all we're doing now is we're going to the Twitch tracker, and then we are basically finding our button, but we're not going to be finding a button. We're going to be finding the viewers watching div. So viewers watching div, and all we're doing is we're taking the code from online and we're just going to change it to our situation. So instead of looking for a button, this is something called x.x, which if you look, what is XPath? This is called XPath. So if you are not familiar with what XPath is, it's basically a way to search through HTML. If you ever go to inspect and you type / or Control F, you'll see find by string selector or XPath. Well, if I do / div, and then let's see, I'm gonna be copying this kind of format here. If I'm looking for a div with some square brackets, contains, and then dot colon, and then viewers watching. And in fact, I'm going to copy this query here, and I'm going to go back to our Twitch thing. Now I'm going to do Control F here, and see div contains viewers watching, boom. Notice now we get some sort of response, and notice it says 1 of 6, so we know that we don't have the right response. This is not exactly what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and look for a slightly different answer. Maybe like this, button contains text start or text whatever. So instead of putting a dot here, we're going to put text like that, and boom. Now notice I typed in / div contains text viewers watching. And this is a little hard to see. Oh, I can zoom it in like this. So / div square bracket contains text viewers watching. And I got this by extrapolating from this Stack Overflow answer. I kind of figured it out for myself, and now it says 1 of 1. And what that means is we can actually use this XPath selector to get that exact div, this exact div right here. And if we get this exact div, then we can get this div here. It's as easy as that. So I'm going to basically copy this XPath selector, and I'm going to paste it instead of this button here. I'm going to go ahead and paste that into here. And now we have our kind of selector that we're looking for. And now what we can say is if viewers watching div, then all this means is if this exists basically, then what we need to do is let's go ahead and go back into inspect, click on this little thing again, click on viewers watching. Now all we need to do is get the next element sibling. That's what it's called. Because in HTML, this is called the parent right here. This is the parent element. And so that means this is the next sibling. Since these are both children, these are siblings of each other. That's just the terminology that we use. So basically now we're looking, Puppeteer, get element sibling. And now let's see, getting the sibling of an element handler in Puppeteer, another Stack Overflow answer. Here's the full example. We get the HTML. You see this code looks very similar to ours. Last is like that. And then page.evaluate handle, just like that. So apparently this page.evaluate handle is kind of what we're looking for. So let's just figure this out right here. So const sibling is equal to maybe page dot or await page dot evaluate handle. And then what we're doing here is we're giving it a function. L is the element, and all we need to say is get L dot, instead of previous element sibling, we could say next element sibling, and then instead of giving it last, which is what they used here, it's the variable of the element, we are going to be using viewers watching div, because that is our element that we're looking to track. So we're basically saying the sibling is the L.next element sibling, and if I console.log this, let's see what we get, because I honestly don't know. Web scraping is it's mainly a process of trial and error, to be fully honest. So let's go ahead and click like that, and let's just see what we get. If we do get anything. This will take a moment just because of the speed of accessing the website, waiting for it to load, and then doing all that. Although it seems to be frozen for whatever reason. I'm not fully sure. I'm going to go ahead and retry this. Yeah, it seems frozen. I'm going to rerun it. And if it will print anything. Oh, there we go. It printed something big. So this is actually not very intelligible, but you can see it's an element handle. So basically all this is meaning is, for the most part, I'm pretty sure it is this div here. So in HTML, when you want to get a div's inner text or inner HTML, you can say inner text, in other words. And if now instead of just grabbing the element sibling, I'm grabbing the L.next element sibling.inner text, and we'll see what it spits out, because I'm pretty sure it'll spit out this number. Nope. Okay. Well, we can see remote object type string. It's a JS handle now. So sibling dot evaluate, or maybe, I'm gonna try something really quick. This is based on some prior knowledge, because I have used Puppeteer, obviously. I've made a couple different trackers, but I will be going more into depth with that. I'm just trying to get this code to work. Okay, there we go. So the gist of the code that I've written here is all we're doing is, again, we're getting that div, this div right here, the viewers watching div, and then all we're saying is the sibling is we're evaluating the element.next element sibling, which all that means is we're getting this div here, and then we're saying get the inner text, aka get this text right here, this 2,104,437, and then print it. And as you can see right here in our code, we get a slightly different number. I'm assuming because if I reload the page right now, you'll notice it is no longer at 2 million. See, this page is constantly updating, and that is a perfect candidate for web scraping because we can constantly be rerunning this and logging the number of viewers if we wanted to create some sort of historical chart of viewers over time or something like that. So this has just been a very basic introduction to web scraping, and this has probably been quite a lot, honestly, for a first video. I did go like a little, definitely over time and just over complexity, but this is the gist of what we're going to be getting into in the more in-depth web scraping with Puppeteer tutorial series. So if you want to see more videos like this, I recommend you check out the playlist, which is linked in the description. The next video we are going to be covering is going to be discord.js, and the previous video we covered was about web servers, not web scraping. Two completely different things. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications whenever I post new videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.